There's a lot of trials that we must go through in life. But here are the 3 that I think all men must go through in order to become a man. And the crazy thing is our education and modern mythos today, it doesn't talk anything about the heroic journey that most men must take through loneliness, through individuating, going against the herd, breaking your heart, crying to God in the wilderness, and stepping forth as a man. We don't talk about that anymore. When every other tribe, tradition, and myth, it was the center point of it. So a lot of young men are kind of lost today. And so here's my thoughts. My name is Christian. This is my philosophical and spiritual musing channel. And the first trial that all men must go through is individuating. This is breaking away from conformity and from what other people think about you and what your dad wants you to be. I heard a great piece of advice once that imagine your dad was dead. Imagine your uncle was dead. Like the people that you care most about earning their respect. Who would you become, right? If your friends didn't care, who would you be? It's crazy. For me, I went to an Ivy League school. Everyone was so proud of me, you know? Everyone thought I was so cool to get into this school. And I dropped out. And I started making crazy YouTube videos about like esoteric knowledge and psychic abilities and stuff. And it got leaked to my hometown. And I was humiliated by like 10,000 people. I was already kind of infamous in my hometown. And everyone I knew was laughing at me. Was what, like, people were texting me, wondering if I lost my mind, you know? And it was an incredible trial of humiliation. And I emerged from it. I wouldn't say that I didn't care about what other people think, but after something like that, it's like, well, I'm not trying to fit in anymore. Everyone knows I'm different. You know, I might as well flaunt it a little bit. And thank God, because it allowed me to do this, to speak to you right now in an authentic way. And I'm not trying to be anything or anyone for anyone else, you know? So it's this trial of individuation, of like breaking from the common crowd, of the identity that you share with your friends, with your parents, and looking inside and seeing, what is my authentic node? What are my authentic interests? What is my authentic expression? And can I follow that even if it's scary? The second, initiation. And all of these, they happen all the time. They're cycling through. These are just 3 like principal trials that men go through. And, you know, a lot of people go through this. The second one is relating. It's relationships. And honestly, I see like modern romantic relationships in a large way as a way of initiation for men, especially if you find yourself a good woman, because she's going to challenge you in ways that you've never experienced. She's going to infuriate you in ways that you've never experienced, and she's going to reflect to you and call out your shadow in ways that you've never experienced. And then guess what? One day she's going to break your heart in a way that you've never experienced before. And I went through all of that in a 5-year period with this woman I loved so deeply. And we had a hard relationship and a beautiful relationship. And the trial of that, of learning how to relate to another, of getting, because the thing is most men never get solid reflections. Like your friends don't really tell you, you know, your blind spots or the ways you mess up, you know, like when you're just friends, you can kind of brush it under the surface. But when you're like living, breathing, loving with one person and intertwining your futures, everything comes up. And in that dance, I think we need to bring a lot more respect and devotion to the growth that happens through deep relationships. And I wish we could bring this back with elders and with other men. And this is like the idea of a sacred men's circle, so that women don't have to initiate men anymore, right? It's like to have such deep male camaraderie and male bonds that your friends can reflect to you your bullshit and your shadows, which has been done to me many, many times. And this trial through relationships, what it requires is humility. So when you are individuating, right, what you are creating is ego. And a lot of people think ego is bad, but ego is beautiful. Ego is the ambition. It is the conviction to express yourself. It is, this is what I think. This is who I am. This is my way. This is what I think is best in the world and best in life. Fucking find that and own it. A lot of people don't like big ego, and these are the weak, humble ones that don't have anything going for them. It's you need a big ego, but you also need to be able to be humbled. It's both. It's creating a permeable ego. Ego is the goal of manhood, is to have the pinnacle of pride, but also of humility, to be proud of yourself, but very open to what life still has to teach you. So in the first trial, it's about individuating your ego, creating willpower, creating discipline, right? Creating individuation, creating expression. The second one is refining. And that is what happens in relationships, is you refine your ego, you integrate lessons, you get humbled, and you learn to incorporate a larger relationship to life into who you are. And I learned so much through relating to a woman, almost more than anything. It taught me about the other side of life. It taught me about empathy. It taught me how to relate to other people on a more real level. And I'm socially awkward and a bit stubborn and a bit heavy and too serious and too prideful in so many ways. And it just shows me all of that and continues to refine it. And you think of the archetype of a king. A lot of men have this, I want to be a king energy. And it's cool. You think of the archetype of a king. What is he? He's powerful and he is open. He is at peace, and he is so open, right? He's this radiating spiritual depth and power. And that happens because his ego is so refined. It's huge, but it's permeable. And that happened through his relationship to his queen and his comrades and everything else. The third trial that all men must go through, in my mind, is a trial of surrender, of failure, of loss, of grief. And this is something that we don't talk about anymore in the West. The great periods of despair, the descent, the death process. And this trial for men is about creating and forging an unshakable relationship to God and to yourself. My friends, at some point in your life, everything is going to go to shit. You're going to lose the love of your life, your job, your whole career path, all your dreams are going to get torn away from you like tinsel. Everything that you love is going to go away. And, if that doesn't happen, seek out your own, voluntary initiation. I would way rather have that. This was woven in to every culture forever. The Native Americans called it the period of crying to God, where they would send their boys out after a period of intention and initiation to cry by themselves, fasting in the mountains, right? And to build this relationship to life, to eternity, to death, to the darker parts that we avoid so that we can be reborn. And it's amazing that it is in the times of grief, of loss, of despair, that I come back to life with a greater appreciation, with a greater sense of self than ever before. It is those periods that transform me. And even last night, going through heartbreak right now, taking some space from my girlfriend, my business is on the rocks, everything's not working out. And a younger version of me would have just tried harder. Wiser version of me is just bring on the feelings and let me learn the lesson here, right? Let me actually release so I can come back into a new formation. And this is life. It is individuation. It is the birth of the sun. It is refining across the sky, and it is the descent into the underworld. And we avoid the underworld. We don't witness our grandparents dying in the center of the village. We don't witness or experience losing a brother in battle or a sister in childbirth. And we don't go out on the sacred hunt to kill the caribou or the elk and experience taking life with our own hands. And because of that, we don't live as close to the darker, more irrational emotions of life, like despair, like sorrow, like these very cathartic experiences of tragedy. And yeah, I don't wish tragedy on anyone, but my friends, life has a way of initiating you. like all the older guys watching this right now are just nodding their heads. They're like, yep, I remember when my wife left me, or, after college, I went through like 5 years of depression and smoking weed, and it was just awful. And like, I think these experiences get prolonged because we don't have a conscious relationship to masculine initiation. And the center of masculine initiation is a profound relationship with God and death. Those are the two things that this third trial is supposed to forage within us. And the thing that will forage it, and most of you watching this, is the end of a relationship. At some point, every man, like I was talking to a mentor of mine, he's like, man, I see it in most men between the ages like 24 to 28. At some point, maybe you'll lose your girlfriend or your wife, or like everything will just like break down. And in that period, it's about fully surrendering and creating a relationship with yourself and with God that you haven't found before. It's like using the pain to fuel your prayers. This is what is called crying to God. And I remember this for me, went through a tragic breakup with my girlfriend, like the love of my life. After a deep psychedelic initiation ceremony, went through this breakup. I lost my community. I left my business behind, my old YouTube channel at the time. Like, I just was, everything that was me and was my identity and was my life, it just got stripped away from me. And I went to Sedona, living out of my van, and was just like, man, in the depths of a lot of heartbreak and a lot of loneliness. And like, loneliness was the theme of my journey for a whole year after that, And like, man, those irrational emotions, I know that they can feel like so all-consuming. And especially when you're in the depths of despair or grief, like you're just like, when is this going to end? Like, what the hell? And it does end. You will get through it. And I think it's amazing now when things like this happen. It's difficult, but I open myself to it more quickly, so it doesn't get so prolonged. I just open myself. Like, I feel that. I feel this retouching of the chaos of life, of like the despair of life, of the tragedy of life, and it's like very cathartic. It's why the ancient Greeks, I think, they celebrated heroic tragedy as the center of their art and plays was tragedy. Like, why? Because it was this like cathartic experience of emotion that brought you back in touch with the song of life itself and the song of who you are. It's like, my friends, life is so hypnotizing. But when you experience a death, the loss of someone you love, or heartbreak, or an ego death, when you experience that and you come back and you touch life, it's like, wow, I can breathe. I get a second shot at living. I don't have to live life as I was doing it before. I can become anything at any moment in my life, and I choose this moment to come into being as the man I want to be. It is that moment that will change your life forever. It is the darkness that will give birth to who you are meant to be, my friends. And this is what I mean by stepping forth as a man who has returned. There's a heroic journey we're on into this mythical other world of trials and losses and magic as we go away from the herd and we individuate and we face the loneliness and we face the great love and the great quest and the great descent. We battle some dragons and we hit this moment where we come back to life and we have returned. And I think that return is coming into a place of authentic self-expression, of actualizing who you are, but also coming into more of that like fatherhood role of serving a larger project out here, finding your place in it all. So thanks for watching. My name is Christian. If you want to talk to me one-on-one and also find like-minded brothers who are building businesses and also supporting each other through the craziness of life, there's a link below to join my men's academy or talk to me about it. I'm building amazing online, circles of like-minded men. And I think that is so important today. I think it's time that we revive brotherhood in every way possible, because it is what is going to support us in becoming the man we could be, in becoming the father, the leader, the lover that we could be, and creating a more flourishing culture and flourishing world. So, come join our brotherhood. Also start building your own brotherhood, and let's fucking fly together, my friends. Thanks for being here. Share this with someone you think it will impact. Peace.